Hi, Michele. So this is Conversations with Trish, and I just want to welcome you here on board to this, what we call an interview, but it's more of a conversation. And I think you've got loads to share. We had a very, very brief meeting in London where I not got to know you, just got to hug you, right? Very quickly and very briefly. And I've always wanted to know, since that meeting in London, I've always wanted to know more. We're part of a mastermind group, but it tends to be a little more about business related. Some funny stuff comes through. However, still, I didn't really get to know you. So I think this is a great opportunity, as you're part of our mastermind group, to really get to know you more. And my first question to you, something that I really want to know about, is more about where you're based now, where you're currently living, and a little bit about your background and your story, and sort of what inspired you to sort of, create an online business. But I think more about your story and your background, I think it'd be really fascinating.
Okay. Well, it's great to be here.
Good. We got the times right in the end, didn't we?
We did.
I'll share this very funny story at the beginning right now. I checked 3 times. We had discussions around what time this interview was going to take place. And that was leading up to this. I have an app called Time Buddy, and I rely on it, because the whole business is run through Time Buddy, because we're having conversations all around the world. I checked 3 times today, and then I confirmed with Michele, I think twice, that we have a meeting at 7 a.m. in the morning. And I said to her, anyway, and the next thing, I'm typing away, I'm doing my work. The next thing, Michele pops up onto my screen and she says, I'm here. Why is no one here? It's just whirring around. Why are you not here yet? And then I responded, said, didn't we agree on 7 a.m.? She said, yeah, it's 7 a.m. So I went, give me 5 minutes. So I raced in, and I said, something's wrong with this app. There's something wrong. It says 7 a.m. And she said, well, it is 7 a.m. I said, yeah, but it says 6 a.m. Sorry, 6 a.m. in London. I'm in France. And I went, oh my God. Didn't even know that. You're in France. London accent, you're in France. So
I know.
Share a little bit of that.
Sacre bleu. Yeah, okay. About 2013, I kind of lived in France on my own, and my parents were out here a little bit before that. So if I take you back before that, actually, I was working as a roadie, touring the world with famous rock bands. So I've seen the world and done lots of fun stuff like that. And then I just thought, I'm not doing anything that I want to do for myself. I'm just doing stuff for everybody else. So my parents were already in France, and I decided, I was with a boyfriend at the time, that we wanted to both set up a holistic retreat. And we thought it would be a fantastic idea. But those ideas always seem a lot more fantastic than when actually you're living it, and you kind of come to France and realise that that holistic retreat wouldn't really work well with a load of farmers. So that didn't work out, and I carried on working as a roadie, but ended up living with my parents for a little while. They decided to move back to England, and I decided to stay out in France, and that was from 2013.
Wow.
And then I met a French farmer, so my roadie business decided to take a back step, and I became a farmer with him, pulling calves out of cows and saving lots of calves. It was crazy driving tractors, cutting fields, hedges and all kinds, and it was fun times. But again, I was like, God, I had all these dreams when I was a kid of what I wanted to do, and goals and desires that you have, like, what do you want to be, what do you want to do? And I was just like, yeah, I want to do all this. And I wasn't doing any of it at all. So I realised I had a little bit of money saved, and I said, it's time to do some stuff. I'm not living my life of my dreams doing this. And with French farmers, everything is timed. Everything has to be timed because it's around animals. And with the French, they have to eat between 12 and 2. So it was like, and they want 3-course meals, and then it's like they want 3-course meals in the evening, and then it's an aperitif, and then it's discussions, and then it's dinner, then you think, come on, let's get on with this, and then it's cheese and cognacs and dessert wines, and it's just like, oh my God, enough's enough. And it's just crazy. And my jeans were getting tight, with all this cheese and bread and red wine and stuff. And he loved to eat. He was a skinny guy, and he loved to eat. I was like, what's going on? Anyway, so I just said, and I've got 2 rescue dogs that I saved from, their lives were a bit nasty. And so he had 200 hectares of land, and about 180 cows. So he was doing cereal and meat. And of course, being vegetarian, that didn't go down too well, because I was looking after all these calves and watching them grow up. And then he was sending them off, and I was like, you can't do that. And I was, obviously, it's his business and livelihood, but it didn't, I kind of had to toughen up a little bit. Wow. So with the 2 rescue dogs, we used to just go off walking for hours. It was beautiful. And then I just said, time to go, time to focus on, I can't be doing this for the rest of my life. I don't think I would live any longer if I'm drinking that much and eating all that much cheese. So I left, and we left on good terms, and I've got my 2 rescue dogs with me now, Lucky and Milou, and I found where I am now, and I've been here since for about a year and a couple of months, and decided that I'm going to start to embark on my journey and do my projects. And the way that came about was in 2008, I lost a friend to breast cancer. And I remember sitting in that funeral in that church, and I was looking at her children. They were 5 and 3 at the time. And I just wanted to do something for my friend. And I just wanted to create something that would be in honor of her, so that in a few years' time, I can help her children like she would want them to live their life of their dreams. Wow. And so I designed something on a website that I wanted to create. But because in 2008, I was still working as a roadie, and I didn't have the time or the how to do this website, I just put it on the back burner. And I also have an adventure book for children that I was writing as well, through my inspiration of living in France with my parents. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do with this. And there's a lot of network that's going to come from that book. And also another book, a creativity book that I'm writing. It's more of it's a cookbook, but it's a fun book. So there's a couple of projects, and lots of other projects came from that. And fast forward, with focusing on the how of not knowing and being busy working, everything got put to the side. And all of that desire of wanting to create projects was building up over the years in discontent. So over the years, while I was being a farmer, although looking after cattle and having fun and everything else and socializing was great, the discontent was building, and I became very depressed and unhappy. So I knew I had to make a move. And it was only when I moved here that I started writing my books. And it was a very spiritual move on how I found the place, and all the little bits of the universe telling me that it was right to come here. And my my neighbour, the owner of the property I'm renting, he's actually a children's writer. And where I live is not far from writing country, because I live in the heart of France, on a very commune, we call it. So it's like a very small hamlet. And there's only like a few houses, but there is a little village which has a famous writing. So as I was coming here to look for this place before I rented it, all the ticks were coming. I was like, yes, this is it.
Yeah.
So I got into it, and then I started writing, and then I became fearful, because I said, Michele, I've only got 3 years money left before I need to work. And of course, I didn't have that work because I was looking after his cows. So my roadie work fell off. I've got 2 rescue dogs, so I can't leave them and go off traveling the world, working and doing what I did to earn money. So I had to do something for me. And I realized that if I write these books, but nobody reads them, and they've taken me 2 years to do them, I've only got 1 year left to live, basically, before I'm homeless. So I needed to do something. And I talked to my friend who passed away practically every day. And I speak to her, and I feel her speaking back to me in a form of goosebumps, of what feels right to do. And it was on this particular walk where it's beautiful, and we was coming around this bend, and I said, what can I do? What should I do? What should I do? And I heard website, and I went, do you know what? I forgot about that. I must do that, because I was so fearful. And I came back and I started searching on websites. How do I do this? And I found a web designer by accident as well. And I was flicking through, and I just about missed his page, his advert. And there were 3, and he was the 3rd one in the middle of the 2, but I never saw his ad. I saw the 2 either side. And it was just, my nail stopped the paper from falling. And I was like, oh, hang on, there's another one there, because I didn't like the other 2. And I was like, I contacted him. We set up a meeting and got the ball rolling. And then he said to me, you need to market. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. What are we talking about? And he said, yeah, no, you need to market. He said, I'll create your website for you, but you need to market. And I was like, yeah. So I said, okay, whatever. And I thought, what does he know? He don't know. And my website is going to be fantastic. Everyone's going to want to come to my website. Of course they are. And then, how little did I know. So I started learning about websites. I was in this web page, and honest to God, I was like a startled rabbit, really. It was incredible. If I was just like, down one rabbit hole, down another rabbit hole. I didn't know where I was going. I was like, oh my God, I've got books and books of where I've made notes. And I learned stuff like, people were talking about traffic, and I was like, why are they talking to me about traffic? I'm sitting in my car thinking, why do I want to drive traffic to my website? I don't understand. And when they talked about blogs, I thought they were saying something rude. I was like, they've said that word wrong. And vlogs, I was like, they've spelt that word wrong. That should be a B. and then landing pages. I'm like, why are they talking about rockets? I don't understand. So you can see my knowledge was very, very limited. And I was so overwhelmed. And here's another spiritual thing. I listened to Eckhart Tolle quite a lot. And a friend of mine, my Reiki master, if you like, a really good friend of mine now over the years, and she said to me, Michele, listen to Eckhart Tolle again. Do you know that he's on YouTube, like Oprah Winfrey? She interviewed him for the 10 chapters of his book, The Power of Now. And I was like, do you know what? That sounds like right up my street, because I can listen to that while I'm having my breakfast, right? Because multitask, you know, we haven't got time. I've got to learn about marketing anyway. So there we were. So there I was, listening to Eckhart Tolle, listening to him, calming myself down. I've got all this overwhelm of fear of not knowing how again. And I was washing up, and a couple of ads came on. So I was like, damn, I can't, like, do they know they're interrupting Eckhart Tolle? These ads kept coming on, and I was washing up, so I couldn't click the skip.
Yes.
So I dried my hands, but just before I was drying my hands to click, I started listening to a young guy that what he was saying actually resonated with me. And it was just some little points. My hands were dry and I clicked on the ad. And that was on the Friday. I think it was a Friday because every day seems the same, but it felt like a Friday. So over the weekend, I continued to learn about marketing and forgot about clicking this ad. And I was so overwhelmed. I was in tears of not knowing how. And I have my friend's picture up there on my fireplace. And I'm talking to her and I'm saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this. How can I do this for you? You said website. I'm looking at website. Everything of me being here has connected, has been right. It's felt right. It's loads of different things have happened. So I started to cry. And I sat on my sofa, and I was just like,
actually, right now, actually, what you're saying now has,
I was like, everything, I was pouring out of me, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And then I heard, put telly on, watch a film.
I think we lost you, Michele. I think my internet, I don't know, it could be your internet. I'll wait a little bit. Actually, what I'll do is pause. So that was the weirdest thing. I'm just going to expand my screen here and then just get back to where I was. I have to explain to the viewers at home how very odd and strange that was. You'll see in this video that you got to a point, you left me hanging on that story about talking to your friend about exactly, you know, your confusion around building a website, your confusion around marketing. And that was the signal, that was the message that you got from her. And you were not understanding much further, like the how wasn't revealing itself. And then as you were explaining that, the whole thing died. Like the whole system went down. I don't even have an internet, I don't think. And I'm just toggling off my phone right now. So that was completely bizarre. And we talk about spirituality, and we talk about signs, and we talk about things. And that was quite powerful, Michele, what you were sharing there, because I was completely absorbed into what you were sharing with me on many different levels. And in a way, it's sort of broken my train of thought, because there were so many questions that you raised in me out of the conversation that you delivered earlier. But what I want to do is just, if we can pick up where you left off. I know you were in the flow, but I really want to hear more about the eventual result of that conversation with your friend.
No worries. Well, it's, I mean, it's like, it's so clear in my mind, the voices, the feeling, not the voices, the feeling of what action steps to take. They're so clear. So it's like I'm living it every day I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't claim to be a clairvoyant. I just get feelings and senses, and I speak to her every day practically. It's through guiding, you know. Even when I was doing roadieing, I used to say, well, what do you reckon about this? You know, I reckon you'd love this. And I would say, I reckon you'd say this. And then I would get that feeling of goosebumps and everything else. And a friend of mine says there's truth bumps. But, and I'd say, well, I could be really warm. Okay. And I'd get these goosebumps. And then I'd say, okay, I'm just going to wait to see if I get these goosebumps again. I'll let them subside. And then I'd start talking to her again. Bosh, the goosebumps would come back up again. And I'd say, all right, I'm just gonna let these go down again, and I'm all hot. I've got my coat on and my hat on and everything else. I'm all hot, so there's no reason why I can get goosebumps everywhere. So I'd start talking again, bang, goosebumps all over, and I'd say, okay, that's enough. Right, we've got it. Right, so basically, with the goosebumps and the feeling I get, I was basically saying, I wanted to create this website in honor of her, but and to help her children, so that I may be able to, and I visualize myself sitting on their sofa and handing over the part of the business that I've created, the website that I've created in honor of her, to her two children, so that they don't have to do anything with it, but if they want to, they can be part of that business, and they can also receive money from that, so that they can either get themselves through school, college, university, get themselves a down payment on a house or whatever, so they don't have to worry. But it was the distance, the time between 2008 and up to now, that I had to kind of bridge that gap, because I was living out of my own head and my own fear,
Right.
trying to survive. So being in that fear-based thinking, I kind of like was overwhelmed at this particular point, and I felt this, watch Beauty and the Beast. So it stopped me with this overwhelm of fear and crying and feeling sorry for myself. And I sat on the sofa and I went, all right then. So I sat down and I watched Beauty and the Beast, and I stopped crying and I started laughing. But at the end, spoiler alert, when they become the version of them, the Beauty and the Beast, I was bawling my eyes out. I was uncontrollably crying. And I realized I'm not crying because of Beauty and the Beast. It's not that I'm crying. I lacked community. That is what it brought out in me. I lacked community. And I was streaming, crying and everything else. And I just was like, I got this cushion. I was hugging this cushion, and my shoulders were going up and down. And it was really quite profound and uncontrollable. And I kind of like calmed myself down, and I felt this words come through, go on your phone. And I thought, community, Facebook. Opened up my community, dried my face, but it wasn't Facebook I needed. I checked my emails. So I'm going through the emails, getting rid of the spam, blah, blah, blah. I'm just about to delete the email I'd clicked on the Friday for the link. And that was the email that I clicked on for that ad on the Friday. So I clicked it, and then I watched the 7-day video series, one after the other, because I needed to learn how to market. And that was teaching me a way of how to market. So I thought, I've been asking, I need a way to earn and learn at the same time. And the website developer said to me, yeah, I can market for you, but it will be this price. And in the search of finding how to market, I came across so many courses, and I thought, God, this is so expensive. And I'm handing over my money, and I'm handing over my business idea. And then I realized that's business suicide, because they don't know my business. They don't have that passion I have for my friend and her children. That's not the drive that they don't know, that intricate bits of what I know. And because I am stubborn and a bit of a control freak, I said, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to earn and learn at the same time. And I know I had like 3 years. So I gave myself 3 years to live. I actually did a video about that, but I gave myself 3 years to live, and thought, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm investing in myself. So that I never looked back, and I just learned. And the next morning, and another funny thing is, my sister had bought me this pad, and it was dated Christmas 2016. and it was a pad that had fallen out on the Friday, because I was looking through some drawers finding, and the pad had fallen out, and I placed that pad and I'd looked at it and I went, and it opened out to the, like she was saying about your ideas, even don't leave your ideas unsaid, write them down. Even a rocket going to the moon was an idea once, and people wrote it down. Take action. And that was from my sister. She just wrote this on this inside. She likes to, every time she buys me a new pad, she writes something on the inside, on the first or on the last page, and I'm looking, or in the middle of the book, and she's like, gotcha.
Love that.
To deface the new pad. So that had fallen out, and I'd placed it on the side of the table. And on the Monday morning, I was like searching for a pad to make notes for this course. And I found my pen. I was like, where's my pad? I need a pad. Ah, there's my pad from my sister from 2016, Christmas. I'd never used that pad. It never came out of the drawer. And there it was on my desk, ready for me to write notes. And that is my story of how, and I've been doing, learning about online marketing now for 6 months, and I've actually created my own website. And I'm learning, and I know about what blogs are, and I'm loving it. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can write this. Why not? And I've just been reading about Mark Ford's blogging. And as I'm reading his blogging, I'm getting excited, because I visualize myself sitting in a coffee shop, and there's nothing quite like the smell of coffee, with my laptop, and just kind of going, hey, look, I'm just going to write about this. And just get that feeling of wanting to share what you want to write to the world, you know, whether they like it or not, but just feel like you just want to share that. And it just seems exciting. And I said to my dogs, because obviously I talk to my dogs a lot, just being me and my 2 dogs, we have great conversations, and they don't argue back. It's great. And so I said, you know, what we want to do, living in France, and I love like going off, get a camper van, I've got my guitar, and just go off and just being a roadie as well. I'm a little bit of a gypsy, so just going off and just taking me internet, my business with me, and going down the Dordogne or the Ardèche, and you know, just living just in the summer for just some fun, and put an element of fun in life and carry on working. So basically I'm learning how to market, but I've got like subdivisions of businesses now, because I've invented a couple of things, and I want to learn about import export next, and write my books, and know how to market my books now when I come to write them. But I need the money to get behind me, to support me. And he's still creating the website. That's taken a while, because there's a lot of different things to do that. And now I'm discussing with him in meetings, and he's like, God, Michele, you know, now I can bring clients to you to help, so you can market the clients that come to me and want me to market them, because I don't know what you're talking about now.
That's very cool. That's very cool, because you're only really 6 months down the track. And I think this is why it was really, really important to have this conversation with you, because people don't know what to expect, do they? They don't know there's so many doubts and so many questions. And you sort of expressed a little bit of that coming into this, because you were given an answer in a way. You were given a message, and it was all around the website and going online, but you were never given the how.
No.
You were guided towards the how. You sort of were guided through that process of knowing where to find that how, but you still didn't know it. So what would be a message to someone that was in your position 6 months ago, that like, you know, they just don't know the how? What would be some of the things that you could tell them to sort of overcome those questions or those challenges that they would be telling themselves? You know, whether it's, you know, well, I'm not technically inclined. That was a big one for me, because I wasn't. Am I too late in my life in a way? Like, I'm 50 now, like seriously, I'm going down a track of reskilling and retraining. Is that really what I need to be doing right now? I mean, you've come off the farm.
I can drive a tractor.
I mean, you've come from having a completely different skill set to now saying to yourself, I'm going to retrain in the digital economy and become an internet online marketer. I mean, there's such a big gap in skills.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone that's, wanting to venture down that path?
That's a really interesting point. I've got to add to that though. My intro into the digital world, if you like, years ago, I used to work in the City of London, and I used to sell digital space for financial houses. So working for the big financial epicenters, sourcing how to export financial papers to the big epicenters around the world. And then I got into the printing of the side of that, printing the financial papers. And that was when the web started coming about, because then the need to print became less and less, and the old fund managers that used to sit back in their chairs with their braces used to watch reading something in their hands. That slowly done away with it, and everything became online. And I remember, so my intro into the online business, I had a secretary, if you like, an assistant, so I didn't have to learn about a computer. And those days it was a big tower underneath the desk that used to warm your leg up, and you'd put a floppy disk in, you know what I mean? And I was like, what's this floppy disk? What do I do with this? And she's like, you just put it in there, or under there, actually, not in the computer. So basically, when I was listening to some people as I was walking by, this lady was smoking a cigarette. She was talking to her mate, and she was like, "It's the web, darling. It's the web. It's not spiders. It's not the web with spiders. It's the web." And she's like, and I'm thinking, what's she talking about? Like pretending I know. Yeah, of course, it's the web. Anyway, so that was my it's the web, darling. She blew. I was like, what's she talking about? Anyway, I'll give her darling. So initially throughout and then I got into physical therapy and stuff like that, and training people, and that's how I became a masseuse for a rock band, and those like little moves in your life, you kind of sit back and you say, how do I find myself in this particular position in life, and what skill sets throughout my life can I bring in to the mix now, and what can I give of value? And when I think about that, and the question you asked me, if I look back 6 months from now, from where I was, practically I didn't have the need to be online. I didn't like Facebook. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was more outside, running, training people, whatever, physical therapy, being on a farm, had an assistant do my stuff for me. So I didn't know. I just used the internet for emails. That was it. LinkedIn and all of this kind of stuff. So when what I would say to somebody in my situation, it was scary. It was scary and it was overwhelming. There's all of this information that you have to learn all in one go in order to survive. And it's enough to make you say, do it tomorrow. I don't want to do it. It's enough to make you want to sit on your sofa with the covers over your head and just pretend you don't exist. But the thing is this, it's your why, it's your passion, it's that drives you to do the things that you want to do. And I'm stubborn, and if somebody tells me to go in that corner, I'll ask them, give me 10 reasons why I got to go in that corner, and then I won't go in that corner. So if you say I can't, I know I will. And it's that stubbornness that makes me, don't do that, I'm going to do it. Non-conformity. And it's that battle in your head of saying, you can't do this. Yes, I bloody can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. And you're kind of having this battle going on. So anybody that wants to do something in their life will succeed as long as their passion is strong enough, because people live their life out of two ways: desire or default. Now, I weren't going to live my life out of default. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and looking at everybody else succeeding and saying, well, why can they do it? Well, why can they do it? I've got a head, I've got shoulders, I've got arms, legs, I can speak, I can see, I can hear. What's so special about them? So it's all of the essence that makes me who I am, of what's brought me about today.
Yeah.
And it's the stubbornness and it's the passion.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, because I had an interview, actually somebody interviewed me this morning, interestingly enough, and Sarah from the community interviewed me, and she asked me a very similar question. And I says, you know what? It's the fire in your belly.
Yes.
It's, you know, because she was talking about qualities and attributes with respect to the business, and it was nothing to do with what college degree you had and how intelligent you were and what skills, internet skills that you brought into the business. No. It was completely all about the fire in your belly, the drive and the persistence and the commitment and the passion that you have to make a difference in your life and other people's lives. And
Absolutely.
I think that is the thing that drives it. That's the why, that's the reason for doing this. And it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer as you travel along this journey, because you see the power of what this model can do. You see it changing people's lives. You see how it can impact on so many people, and you see how you can make an impact. You would have done that through the 90-day journey. You did a 90-day video journey. You would have seen the impact that would have had on other people. And doesn't that spur you on?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially when you think, oh, what have I got to say? Oh, I've got nothing to say. Who wants to listen to me? And what you find is, when I started the 90-day video journey, just to retrack a little bit, when you think about, oh, I've got to do videos, I've got to do blogs, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, you're kind of thinking about the fear-based thinking as opposed to what it is that you actually want to do and where you want to go. And then when you think, well, if they can do it, so can I. So if you take it, I mean, how do you eat an elephant? You don't eat an elephant whole, do you? One trunk at a time, or whatever. You take off little pieces. Well, all right, not an elephant, being vegetarian, but how do you eat a chocolate cake?
Chocolate Easter egg, right?
One half at a time.
That's it. Love it.
I love it. Oh, yeah. That made me think, well, I wanted to, when you talk about your chocolate Easter egg, I was like, wow, I've got one of those calling me. Come and eat. Not today.
So apart from chocolate Easter eggs, yes, it's one little piece at a time. One little bit at a time. Bite-sized pieces is
absolutely
what you do. And you're right, spot on.
But the key also is when you've got a community. I've started out two conversations here. First off, when you start out and you think, right, I've got to do videos. Why have I got to do videos? Well, if I want to advertise on YouTube, I need to do videos. Okay, so I've got to do videos. All right, so I start doing videos, and then you start looking at yourself and you go, who the hell is that? Right, so you're looking at yourself after you've done a video of yourself, and you're looking at yourself saying, I don't recognize that. Who's that looking back at me? Does that person sound that bad? And then you start picking, and you just go, oh my goodness. And then you realize towards the end of the journey that it was never about you. Life runs through you, not at you. So life is not about us. When you get out of your head, you realize that it's never been about you. And that when you don't want to do that video, or you don't want to say something, you could send a message to somebody that you didn't even realize would be listening. And if that changes one person, just one person, then or made a difference to somebody, or made them happy, or gave them inspiration to do something, then wow, that is amazing. And so yeah, the 90-day video journey is incredible. And I've forgotten the other point that I was going to make. But never mind.
That's okay, because
I'm thinking about chocolate egg.
I think it's brilliant what you shared there, because it's so important to understand. And this is another question, and I raised it with someone else the other day about value. People don't understand the value that they have within themselves. And you've totally shared here that everyone has value. Everyone has journeys, and you're very clearly defined with your journeys as well. And I think we all are. We have certain chapters in our life, don't we? We have a chapter in our life where, you know, like 2013 for you on, that was a whole nother chapter for you. 2013 before, again, a whole nother chapter. And then you always say in your mind, how far do I go back with this chapter? How far do I go back with my story? How much do I really want to share? And what's interesting is combinations of all of those chapters make up who you are today and the value that you can bring to people. And it's interesting, sometimes we put little barriers and we sort of go, oh, I don't want to go further past 2013. I'll just talk about from 2013 on, because I think that's, you know, that's an appropriate time. That's appropriate for them to listen to. And I think that's a good time. But there are journeys and experiences and things that we share, adversities more than anything, that we have happened to us prior. And it all becomes sort of a culmination of who we are today and what we can share with people. I think more importantly, those videos that we share with people show how you can be a result of adversity, how you can overcome adversity, how you can get over those challenges. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And and that reminded me of the second point, was like, excuse me, the community. Tapping into the community, because if the community is actually doing the 90-day video challenge, then you're watching somebody else and you're listening to what they're doing and you're thinking, but what you actually do realize is that because we are unique with our DNA, but our story necessarily isn't that unique, because somebody somewhere is living the same life, using the same experiences, maybe a different scales, of course, and at different time scales, but everyone is living the same experiences, if you like. And it's at that point when the connection goes, I resonate with that story from that person thousands of miles away in another country, and you're talking to this person, and the community then it lights, it opens out, and you realize that you're not alone. You never been alone, and you connect with somebody here and connect with somebody there, and it's like, my God. And then you realize that I'm not too old, or I'm not too young, or I'm not too short, too tall, too skinny, too fat. I'm not too silly. It doesn't matter about my background. Somebody's doing it from there. Somebody's doing it from there. It doesn't matter if I've got a full-time job or a part-time job, or I haven't got a job. All it matters is that if your why is big enough, and that is what it all steps down back to, your why. Because if that's not strong enough, then you'll be like waving in the wind, not knowing which direction, changing from place to place of where you want to go.
We were talking about an epiphany, and I think it can be a little bit like a why, but we were talking before we went on air about a point in time that changed things or opened your levels of awareness. Was there a point in time, because you talk about spirituality, and that seems to be quite a big part as well of your journey, was there a point in time where that really stepped into your life, when spirituality sort of knocked on the door, if you could say that, or appeared or presented itself to you?
Well, I can go back to the spirituality sides when I was a young kid, you know, always in spirituality. My dad used to be a ghost hunter when we was kids, so I've got loads of ghosty stories.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, lots of different things have happened. So in terms of spirituality, I always kind of knew there was something else going on. and you know, everyone was doing this and everyone was doing that, and because everyone was doing it, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to do something else. And my mum was always like, God, why do you have to be so different? You know, why can you? And the epiphany is this point, I think. She was like, why can you just not just accept things for what they are? And I used to, I mean, my mum and dad are also quite spiritual. My dad is more spiritual as well, and my sister too. My sister and I are very connected spiritually wise.
Wow.
But that's another story. But so I watched my parents get up, go to work, come home. Mum cooked dinner. Me and my sister used to do the housework and help, eat dinner, watch telly, go to bed. The same, repeat every single day, and struggling on how to pay the bills. And it was only as I got older, I watched how my parents struggled quite a lot. And I realized that, you know, if there is something more to life than this, what is it? What is it? There is something more to life. It can't just be get up, go to work, come home, get up, go to work, come home. And then at the weekends, my dad's going off on one because everyone's on the roads traffic wise, because everyone's going shopping at the same time, you know. And it's like, there's got to be something more. What is it all about? So went in search of that something more. And I've been in jobs where I've earned lots of money, didn't have a lot of time. Or I've been where I've had no money and loads of time. And on both situations, I've been very, very happy and very, very sad. And I've worked with famous artists and seen how even having money, they're absolutely fed up and you know, depressed and want to kill themselves, or you know, things like that. And so it's not about the money. So it got me searching even more. What is it all about? And I found that through nature, and I found that through animals and helping people. And I knew that this sense of feeling came from within. When, you know, when I worked in London, I used to go down this particular way, and I'd get like coffee and breakfast for a lady that used to sit there with her dog, and I'd get the dog food, and I'd sit and get her blankets and stuff like that, raise money for charities, go do dog charities, you know, give soup to people, always thinking of other things of how I can help people. And that feeling, that sense of euphoric feeling came from within. And then I started going, am I selfish? Because I actually really enjoy giving, and that makes me feel happy. So does that make me being selfish? Am I selfish? And just always thinking, how can I help somebody? How can I make their life better? And then I realized in life that I knew I didn't want to have a life of getting up, going to work, because what's the point of existence? And what is the point of existence if even if these people are unhappy, they've got loads of money, they're unhappy. And even the people that don't have money have got a really, really happy, you know. So it's not about that, it's something deeper. And so I know that when I look into the eyes of my two dogs and they look back at me, and I know what I've done, and we've had rescue dogs all our lives, and it's just giving. It's just giving. When I'm walking my dogs in nature, and I look at the trees, and I say to the trees, I see you. Thank you for giving me life as well. Because the exchange of gases, you know, they give us life, and the birds, and just look and asking for signs. Am I doing the right thing? And everywhere I look, there's feathers, you know, feathers falling on the floor. Even in the middle of a field, when I could have gone that way or that way, and there's no tree for the feathers to fall, there's a feather. And I say, I see you. I see you.
That's
So
very powerful.
it's a lot deeper than that. It's so profound. I could talk to you for ages about it, but you know, it is so profound. It's like being in the deepest, darkest pit of your mind, and thinking, well, like when I was with the farmer, a nice guy, but I got through points in my life where every single day I was looking at ways how I could end my life. I wanted to just finish it because I was overwhelmed with the default of how I was living. And literally I was thinking, how can I end my life today? And realized that, you know, it's not all about that. And even walking the dog, it was just sucking the life out of me. And being with toxic relationships, how that sucks the life out of you. And then just saying, no, there's more to it than this. Asking, what is there? What is my purpose in life? I'll give everything I have to give that purpose in life, to find that purpose in life, so I can be a better person. And then just things start to open. I don't have the answers, but it's just a feeling. And even if I die tomorrow, I'd be happy in the fact that I've actually made those steps towards where I want to go. And I can give that to my sister, or, you know, my sister can, you know, things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
about.
And you talk about purpose, because I've talked about that a few times, and I know that by living through your purpose and filtering everything through your purpose, and I've talked about this on other conversations that I've had with others as well, how incredibly important that is when making decisions. Once you've found your purpose, your true purpose, and what it is you're on this planet to do, if you filter everything through that purpose, you are going to make very clear decisions about, yes, it is what you want to do, or no, I'm not going to go down that path. It becomes so freaking clear. And it's become so clear for me, in especially that purpose, especially in the last 4 weeks of me going through a business restructure. Oh my goodness, the meaning of what a purpose is. Because it's, the question becomes, do you live by this purpose or do I not? Yeah. Do I go in that direction or do I not? Is this in alignment with my purpose or this is not? And I don't think I fully got that until the last month, until the last 4 weeks. Like, what do I do here? Like, I've got to make a decision here. And so what do I do? And so by having that purpose and having that filter, it really clearly helps you to say, you know what? This is the route I'm going to take, because this is what I need to be doing every single day. And I live my purpose every single day. And I think when you get to that point of you can't go back from that.
No.
I don't know how you can go back from that. I think you would do, even if you felt that it was slipping from your hands, you would find a way to live on purpose every single day. And this is a business model, but it's much more than that. Much more than just a business model. It is a purpose, and it can be your own purpose, defined and tailored for you as an individual. And it's not in the great times when things are successful and things are moving that you define yourself by. It's when things are rocky and volatile and strained and there's a problem. And that's when you need to pull on a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's really powerful what you shared here, because I think what this journey has done, the last 2 years for me with an online business, has been more powerful in finding out who I am and what I'm about than I reckon the last 20 years.
Wow.
So that's very powerful. And I've done a lot. I think the last 2 years have been the most powerful in working out who I really am and what I represent and what I stand for, and being truthful about that too. Would you? Because you've lived a corporate life, you've lived a farm life. With the corporate life, would you say that you've built up a few facades over time? I think that you are very authentic and very genuine. You've stripped those back. And I think it's as a result of maybe the time away from the corporate life. But I think the corporate life tends to build up those layers of, I don't know, facade, falseness, protection.
I think that there's the facade in everything, especially in the music industry. With artists, you know, there's a mass of facade there, and you've got, you know, you've, because they've got to be that certain person in front of everybody, what people expect them to be, and they don't want to be like that all the time. So it's kind of like, it's when it's, and like I made myself ill when I was in the corporate world, because it wasn't where I wanted to be. And in times of my life when I've done things that have gone against my purpose, when I haven't even known what my purpose was and I was in search of my purpose, it's those times where I've been ill, I've been sick, things have happened, things have broken down in my life. And so when you can define quite simply, because we all have that internal switch that says to us, this feels right, this feels wrong. We all know instinctively when we walk into a room, this doesn't feel good, this room. Or, wow, this house really welcomes me in. I absolutely love it. This atmosphere is fantastic. And we know as our sixth sense that is our internal measurement of what is right and what is wrong.
That's powerful.
And if we open ourselves and just allow ourselves to acknowledge that, that's a good indicator of what is going right for us. And I think when our vibrational energy goes out there of what we want to be as a person, and we're not achieving that, we're not stepping towards that, then what happens is we get sick, we get depressed, we get upset, we get frustrated, we get overwhelmed, we get angry, and things start to fight because our vibrational energy knows that this is where we want to be. And I'm not happy because I'm not doing the things that I need to be doing to get there. So when we start to break down those walls of fear and those barriers and start to listen to our internal indicator, that feels right, that feels right, then we start to work through the forest and get to where we want to be on a vibrational level. And that is a good indicator. You know, it's you can be old, you can be young, you can be whatever. We all know what's right and what's wrong for us.
That's really powerful.
Listen.
That's really powerful, because as you were talking then, I'd realized, this is the first realization, I have not been sick. We're talking a cold or a flu. Now, I was somebody that had very, very volatile health issues ever since I was very young, 16-year-old, major operation, major health scare. And my immune system has always been quite weak. And as a result, I'd always get flus and viruses and things every year. I have not been sick, flu, cold since September of not last year, the year before. Now, isn't that interesting?
I've got goosebumps. Truth, but
that's very, since that I've not even had the time, because I'm so swept up in what I'm doing. That could be another reason why I'm so swept up in what I do, that I realized that I haven't even been sick since September, not last year, the year before, because I came off a very big flight, and I remember getting quite ill then with a flu. But ever since then, I've had back-to-back 90-day challenges that I have immersed myself in. And part of that was a health process. And I've been juicing now, smoothie, juicing, whatever you call it, for 18 months. Every morning I have a juice or a green. And that's as a result of this journey. So when we talk about a business model, it's not just this. This journey is completely life-changing.
Oh my God.
That's a realization from this call that we have today. Wow. That I've not experienced an illness since then. So
congratulations.
That's huge. That's life-changing, right?
But there's also a step on that. You also said that you've been in it, doing it constantly. So that might be as well, that you're perhaps not realizing that you are actually tired because you've been doing it for so long. In that sense, you've been focused. But here's the thing. When you're doing something that you absolutely love and you're driving and you're doing it because your vibrational energy matches, you're not tired.
No.
You have that energy. You draw that energy from somewhere and you think, oh my goodness. Because when you compare that to the times when you actually have worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and you're in it and you're knackered because you're not doing the right thing. Because, you know, they say you're working, working, working. And then when you go on holiday, you get sick.
Yes.
Because you stop. Right?
It's true. So, that's very true. And that's very true because I'm in it. But I love it, love it, love it, love it. And so that makes the difference, right? That makes the difference. That's brilliant. That's it.
Because the thing is, we tend to forget ourselves and we think, yeah, you know, because of nature, right? We are nature, and everything grows and it blossoms in the right conditions. Everything blossoms in the right conditions. In the wrong conditions, it doesn't grow, right? So if we think about us on a cellular level, then and we are 95% water. I think that's the 95% water. There are studies. Dr. Horosho, he did. I'm butchering his name, but he did a study on water where they gave love to water and they played nice music to it. Then he froze it, cut it, put it under the microscope, and saw what beautiful patterns it made within that cellular structure. Then he got the same water and they played bad music. They swore at the water. They gave it hate. They said words of a lower vibration. Freezed it, cut it, put it under the microscope, and the water deformed itself in such a bad way. It was all over the place. Now, if we give ourselves love and we acknowledge ourselves and we're doing the things that give us a higher vibration, and how often do we actually stroke our hands and give ourselves that, you know, I actually, you know, you don't stroke your hand often, you don't think about it, but when somebody needs a bit of love, you stroke them, don't you? You give them love, you stroke them. The dog, you give them love. Well, why can't we do that to ourselves? And why can't we give ourselves the love and tell ourselves nice things? Because then our water structure changes, our cellular level works on a better level, and everything works better. We emanate light, and people see that light and they want a piece of it. And so
that's true.
When we are, whether it's this business or whether it's any business, when you're doing something you absolutely love, you attract people and things start working in your life. So find something that you absolutely love.
That's such a good tip. Actually, it's not even a tip. It's like incredible information, life-changing information, right? Life-changing. It's freaking awesome. You are awesome. I'm going to ask you one last. I don't even think I've asked many questions. I think it's been more discussions with you and I, and it's just been awesome. I'm not going to take much more of your time. I just have one question that I ask everybody at the end of the interview, and it's a biggie, and everyone goes, oh. Where do you see yourself and or your business in 5 years' time?
On a beach. No, I'm joking. Wow. Well, I say, where do I see it? I have my branding sorted, and there are businesses. My book has been written. My cooking book's done. My adventure book's done. My friends' children have got parts in the business in honor of their mum. That's running up and running. Cool. I'm living. I am sitting around a table with friends, and we're having great conversations and eating great meals, and we're discussing what we can do to help others. That is what we're discussing in 5 years' time and throughout that journey. And what can we do to help other people find the things that they want to do in life? How can we do it? You know, I see lots of different things, but that's just like, you know, from this business I see that, from this business I see that, from this business I see that. There's so many different business projects that I want to do. Yeah. And I also see myself having a nice gin and tonic somewhere where I can feel the heat on my body.
Isn't that the south of France? You could the south of France. Isn't that like hotter? Is that no?
Yeah, but you know,
not hot enough, right?
I don't know. Maybe I just want to feel the sand in my toes.
Yeah.
But I'm not resting until this is done and this is done. I don't think I'll ever rest because I'll be loving what I'm doing. So in 5 years' time, wow, loads more projects to do.
Great, good stuff. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I just have been amazed at what I've learned from you through this whole session. You are an inspiration. Your journeys that you have traveled are incredible. It was nothing like I expected. It was adventurous and interesting and fun and very spiritual. And we even had a spiritual awakening halfway through this interview by the whole internet going down. And I don't know what that was telling us right then. However, they do say that with people with spiritual energy and positive spiritual vibe can actually impact electronic equipment and stuff. And so who knows, I've never had that happen to me before. And that was a complete, like, I don't know whether it's still down, but this is very interesting. So I just want to say thank you for all that you bring.
Bless you. Thank you.
To all people that are wanting to start on their journey of an online business. And you are a true inspiration, showing that you can be versatile and that you can change from one thing to another and create something very successful, and make sure that by identifying your why, which I think is the most powerful thing that's come out of today's call.
Absolutely.
In honor of your friend and the legacy that you want to create for your friend. I think, what's her name?
Caroline.
Caroline, beautiful. Actually, that's my mum's sister's name, Caroline. So for Caroline's legacy, it's very powerful that you have this very strong why, and it's going to really just get you through those moments, whether it be adversity and challenges, but it's also going to come out the other end of this. Her legacy is her sons, her children, but also you're showing that you're still connected to her by what you're doing for her as well and her son. So I just want to say thank you for what you've delivered here on this call. You are amazing. You're very inspiring. And
bless you, Trish.
And we'll meet up again in, whether it be London or whether it be another location, another event. We will most certainly meet up again. And I'm so honored to have you as part of that mastermind group now moving forward. So I want to say thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you know, you said about 5 years' time, well, you're going to be coming round my house and sitting around my table.
Cynthia, Mark, Jacqueline, Dennis, you, me. Have I missed
doggies?
anyone?
Doggies.
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you so much. And thank you for taking your time out and spending it with us. Thank you so much, Michele.
Thank you for giving me your time too. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.